All right, so this week in your class, you guys are covering budgeting and financial literacy. So your class will focus more on an overall budget for your expenses and stuff. I want to focus solely on food because I feel like that's where a lot of us have the most wiggle room for budgeting and adding things. And these are all tips that I use on a daily, weekly, monthly basis for planning out my food. So they're not just something random. They do work. I do use these. So, first tip, plan out your meals. So, get an idea of what meals you'll be having for a while. Now, you can do that on a weekly basis, kind of figure out what you want for the week. You can do it on a monthly basis. You can do a combination of the two. So, for example, so this is a picture of from my journal that I have for meal prep, and it's for the entire month. So, what I do is I write down any kind of meals that I want to try or have for the entire month. I can obviously have them repeatedly if I want to have them again and again. That's totally fine. But it gives me an idea of what recipes to choose from if I don't know what I want to eat. But it also gives me an idea of what ingredients I might need for the entire month. So then once you have that made up, like I said, you can also do it on a weekly basis. You can figure out if that's too much for you. You can also do it on a weekly, like what am I having for the next week, and same thing, buy your supplies off that. Once you have you've planned out a little bit of what you want, compile a grocery list off of those recipes. Um, Doing that will prevent you from overbuying food, right? So you know exactly how much chicken you need, you know exactly how much rice or beans or whatever you need. It also prevents you from buying food you won't use, right? We've all been in the grocery store and we're like, we're gonna use this, and you never use it, right? It's either you either had to throw it out or maybe it's tucked in your pantry still and you're just like, someday you'll use it. And by preventing to overbuy food or buying things you don't use, you're actually saving money because you're actually buying food that you will actually eat and you're actually using that. And also planning it out gives you a better idea for if you have a recipe that uses maybe ingredients you don't usually use, you get a better idea of what you'll need essentially. All right, so you've planned out your, meals you're gonna eat, you know what your recipes are, you know exactly what you need to buy. So before you go to the store, determine exactly how much you can spend. This goes back to your budget, overall budget that you guys are working on in your class. So figure out exactly what your food budget is. I usually do mine on a monthly basis, so this is actually a budget that I created. So I have food is $150 per month that I can spend. So that gives you an idea of if you're buying groceries for 2 weeks or however often you buy groceries, you get an idea of exactly how much you can spend and how much you can't spend and where you can't go over. And basically, if you need to maybe cut down on some recipes, say well, I'll take this recipe out, we'll try it, later because it's going to put me over budget. That's where you can do this kind of finagling back and forth of what exactly you can buy. Sometimes it takes a little bit of trial and error to kind of get exactly right of how much you can or can't spend on food. It also depends on what you eat. So once you figure out, okay, this is how much I can spend, I've got it worked out, it's within my budget, now you can go shopping. All right, so shopping. Number one, do not be afraid to shop around. We all love HEB. I get it, we love it, but sometimes other stores are cheaper. And when you're shopping, you really have to buy according to your wallet. If you only have $10 to spend, maximize that $10. And if that means shopping at Walmart and you get, 5 items instead of 3, then the Walmart option is better. This is just a comparison I took. This is a little old, it was a while back. But you can see grape tomatoes are actually cheaper at Walmart, but pork chops are actually cheaper at HEB. So feel free to shop around to get the best bang for your buck. The other things to consider when you're at the store is buying store brand is cheaper than buying the name brand. This goes regardless of what store you're in, whether you buy stuff at Walmart, Kroger, HEB, wherever, the store brand is cheaper. And you can easily see this is a comparison here. So, right, you can easily see all of the store brands for the mac and cheese, Coca-Cola, instant rice. They're all cheaper as a store brand than the name brand items. So if you're looking to cut or save some money, cut costs, this is a really easy way to do that. Now, someone will say, well, isn't the store brand worse than the name brand? It depends, honestly, on the brand and what you're buying. There are definitely things that the brand name might be a little better, but there's definitely things like I buy the name brand rice. It works just as well as the Minute Instant Rice. So, next tip. This also the store brands. This is a cheat sheet. So if you're like, well, I don't know what the store brand is, here's a quick one. So Walmart's is Great Value, H-E-B is just H-E-B, Kroger is just Kroger, Berkshire Brothers is called the Food Club, Aldi is Happy Farms or Millville, and then Target is Market Pantry. So if you're like, I don't know what the name brand is or the store brand is, here's a quick cheat sheet. Then your next tip, look above and below when you're out at store. So stores tend to they want to make the most money off you, right? So cheaper items tend to be placed on the lower or upper shelves because a lot of people tend to, like myself included, right? We tend to just look at whatever's eye level. We don't really do a lot of searching. So if you're looking for those store brands or cheaper items, look kind of down below. You might have to get down, crouch down, or look above, and those are usually where your cheaper items are going to be placed. All right, so you've bought your stuff, you've made your food. I highly recommend like freezing any leftovers. A lot of people are like, what do I do with all this leftovers? Freeze it. A lot of food can be frozen and you can reheat it later. You can even divide them out into other meals. That way, when you like you're coming home late one day, you're tired, you can just pull it out and defrost it. This will also keep your food from lasting longer. If you just stick it in the fridge, it's gonna go bad at some point. So stick it in the freezer. It'll freeze, obviously, and it'll last longer. That way, all you just defrost it. This prevents you throwing out food that's like, oh, it went bad, I didn't realize it. And this is a picture for my fridge. You can see I freeze things as well. So I'm going to start sharing 2 recipes that I really enjoy because I found a lot when I was doing research for the PowerPoint that a lot of places had tips and stuff to use, but they were never like, okay, but where do I find cheap recipes? So these are 2 recipes that I make. This is a 1-pot Cajun chicken pasta. It just means you make the entire dish in 1 pot, which is great because it means you don't have a lot of dishwashing later. Here's the ingredients and sorry, it's been a long day, the directions. And then if you want a video or step-by-step, you can see at the bottom there's a link to the recipe. I think this tastes exactly like the Chili's Cajun pasta, like exactly. So I really like it because then this is way cheaper to make. Another recipe is a chicken Caesar salad wrap. This makes quite a bit. It's also really tasty. Keeps pretty well. This is from a cookbook I have, so ignore the, the little marks and stuff on it. This is also fairly easy to make, fairly cheap to make as well, and it's a really nice, like, easy lunch recipe. So where do you find all of these recipes or cheaper recipes, right? Like we know the tips now for like shopping and finding stuff, but where do you find really cheap recipes? So here are places that I use on a regular basis. I live on Budget Bites. So the first one, let me get my cursor. First one is called Budget Bites. This is a website with a wide variety of recipes, appetizers, 1-pot meals, lunches, dinners, desserts, you name it, they have it. And it gives you a cost breakdown as like next to the ingredients before your recipe, so you can get an idea of how expensive that recipe is. Most of my recipes I use come from the site. They are very easy to make. They're very cheap to make. Another place where I get recipes or food tips from is on Reddit, on the subreddit called Budget Food. For those that are not familiar with Reddit, it's a forum where people can post things. So in the budget food one here, people post helpful recipes or tips specifically for food on a budget, and it's really nice. I found some really great tips on there. People will post also to like substitutes for things. So if you're looking for like a cheaper substitute, that's a really great way to find things. And people post recipes and stuff as well, so it's really great. So for Lone Star students, we have a food pantry on campus. This is the link here to information about the Coyote Cupboard. They do provide food to students that are in need. Down here is the Houston Food Bank. It serves Houston and the surrounding area. I don't know how far that is, but it's not just Houston, it is the surrounding area as well. This is the link here for Texas for the Human Health Services, information on food stamps. So basically, how do you qualify? Um, what do you need to do if you do qualify, applications, process, etc. And then this link here is for WIC. So it's information on the Texas WIC program. WIC, for those that do not know, stands for Women, Infants, and Children. So anyone that obviously is women, if you have kids and you're struggling with food, they have an allowance for certain items and food items for them. So, but this contains all information, like how to apply, the process, etc. on that. So here are your resources for that. If you guys have any questions, feel free to reach out.